meeting of the Tinton Falls Borough Council being held July 12, 2022. This meeting is hereby called to order. Would the clerk please read the open public meeting statement?
Pursuant to Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board at Borough Hall and by notification to the Asbury Park Press, the Newark Star Ledger, and the New Coaster at least 48 hours prior to the meeting and filing with the Borough Clerk, all on January 4th, 2022.
Thank you. May I ask the clerk to call the roll?
Mrs. Clay?
Here.
Dr. Dobrin?
Here.
Mr. Manginelli?
Here.
Mr. Nessie?
Here.
Ms. Buckley?
Here. At this time, I'd like to invite everyone to join me reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. There are 4 sets of meeting minutes for approval this evening. May I have a motion to approve the April 5th, 2022, April 19th, 2022 regular meeting minutes and the May 17th, 2022 regular and executive session meeting minutes?
Motion.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. May I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Clay?
Yes.
Dr. Dobrin?
Yes.
Mr. Manginelli?
Yes.
Mr. Nessie?
Yes.
Ms. Buckley?
Yes. May I have a motion to approve the May 3rd, 2022 regular meeting minutes?
Motion.
Mr. Manginelli, you were absent that evening, so you have to abstain from this particular vote. Can someone
Motion.
else? Thank you, Dr. Dobrin. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. May I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Clay?
Yes.
Dr. Dobrin?
Yes.
Mr. Manginelli?
Yes.
Yeah,
You were absent for that one, Mr.
Yeah.
Manginelli.
John, you're going to have to abstain from this,
Absent.
from this vote. Okay.
Mr. Nessie?
Yes.
Ms. Buckley?
Yes. All right. We originally had a proclamation for this evening, but the honoree could not attend, so we're moving that to the August meeting. So that brings us to our public hearing on the 2023 Community Development Block Grant application, which we're required to hold a public meeting on. I would like to turn over the floor to our Borough Engineer, Tom Neff, to discuss.
Thank you, Council President. I'll just give a brief overview of the grant process, the project we're looking to apply for, and then I'll open it to Council for any questions, and then ask Council to open to the public for any comments or questions. So this is the Monmouth County Community Development Block Grant. It's a grant program that the county releases annually, but municipalities are only allowed to receive the grant every 2 years. The last time that the borough received the grant successfully was 2017. That was for one of the southern portions of Hope Road. It was the joint project with Ocean Township. The maximum funding amount that you can request is $200,000. Luckily, this one is not a matching grant, so if we get $200,000, we can just use that without having to match it with the borough's own funds. But there are certain restrictions on the grant. It does have to meet HUD, Housing and Urban Development regulations, and serve what they call an eligible population. Sometimes it's either low, moderate income areas that have a certain percentage that meets that requirement. And they have new census maps that are typically released every year that show us what areas of the borough are eligible for this grant. Right now, it's kind of the southeastern portion of the borough. Maps don't always make sense. Don't ask me where they come from, but we get them from the county, who gets them from the feds. So we can do certain projects in those areas or ADA projects pretty much anywhere throughout town. Previously, we've done work at the county library a number of years ago, the interior bathroom renovations. So we looked at the different areas, different projects, and we are recommending, once again, applying for work related to Wardell Park down on Wardell Road. We submitted this last year. Unfortunately, we weren't successful, but based on the limited areas that we can apply for, we still feel that this is the strongest application, as it's going to serve a very large area. I think everyone sees how crowded the park is. There's a huge residential neighborhood, the whole Fox Chase to the east. So what we are recommending is curb, sidewalk, and drainage improvements on Wardell Road from the southern portion of Maywood Run into the new park. The construction cost is just about $200,000, so that's another reason why we feel it's a good fit for this grant. So our goal is to provide ADA accessible route from all the various Fox Chase neighborhoods off of Maywood Run and Appaloosa Run to the new park. Right now there is some sidewalk on the side opposite of Wardell, but it's only an isolated area. So we're looking to go, like I said, all the way up to Maywood Run. And also because the sidewalk is on the opposite side of the road, we would put a new crossing in there. Because it is a mid-block crossing, we would put the rectangular rapid flashing beacons, the signs that flash with the crosswalks out there just to draw some extra attention and allow pedestrians to cross there safely. Because we're doing the new sidewalk, we'll do new curb, and the new curb triggers drainage improvements as well. Right now there's no curb, so the water just sheet flows off, but if you drive down there anytime during the rain, you'll see that it really doesn't go anywhere. There's a lot of low spots and ponding. It's kind of a mess out there. So the drainage improvements will alleviate that. We'll connect it to an existing drainage system up the road, and it'll discharge into the wetlands eventually. So not only will we be providing ADA access, but we'd also be fixing the drainage problems in that road. So that's essentially the overview of the grant and what we're looking to do. The application is due Friday, July 22nd, so a couple weeks. We do have most of it all prepared, ready to go. We just have to have this public hearing. On consent agenda is a resolution to authorize the grant submission, and then we would do a presentation, typically myself, to the CDBG committee in September, and then hopefully by the end of the year, we would hear about any potential awards. It is very competitive. Typically only about half or so of the towns who apply get this. But hopefully, we can make a good case for it. So, any questions from council?
I'll open up to the other council members to see if they have any questions. Yeah, Mr.
I
Nessie.
don't have any questions per se, Mr. Neff, but I do want to add that having, suggesting to put anything ADA helpful for anybody, I think is wonderful for the park. That's already being used by a lot of people. So your suggestion is definitely backed for me. I think it's wonderful, and I appreciate it. Thanks.
I also, I just have a comment along those lines. I think this is awesome, and it's an excellent plan. I would also just like to go on the record that I think we also need that type of ADA consideration at the crosswalk by Atchison, because I think it requires a fast dash to cross the street, and it's very dangerous.
Thank you, Mrs. Clay. Any other council member?
No comment.
Okay. I also concur with my fellow council members. I think it's an awesome project. That's why we applied last year. It's definitely very needed because the park is highly utilized, so I'm also in support of the project. If I could now have a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion?
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Dobrin. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Okay, now we will have a public hearing. So just a reminder for members of the public that the comments for this portion of the meeting will be limited to 3 minutes and only pertain to this community development grant application. If anyone has a comment, feel free to address us now. Yeah.
Danny, can you dump this volume?
Good evening, Ellen Goldberg, 90 Glenwood Drive.
Yeah.
I just have a question for Mr. Neff. I believe I remember you speaking about, at a previous meeting, the area on Newman Springs Road that is between Hance Avenue and Shrewsbury Avenue. There's like a partial sidewalk, and there's a lot of like grassy area and dirt and things like that. And am I correct in that was going to be looked at to make that, I mean, not only is there a missing sidewalk on a lot of that area? But also, it's definitely not ADA, because we don't have the parts that go down into the street.
So I will say that a couple things. As part of the borough's current road program, contractor is actually marking it out this week. We're doing William and Terry and a couple of the roads around there. So the roads that we're doing, we will be upgrading those handicap ramps, at least at those intersections, so those handicap ramps will be accessible. And then as far as some of the rest of it, some of the missing sections, the county and the state, the DOT, had actually done a study because it is a county road, but the state also, because it was so bad, so many accidents in certain areas, the state got involved and did a safety audit out there. So the county and the state are looking into doing overall improvements out
So
there
we don't need to
potentially.
worry about this grant money going towards that area?
I
because it's
wouldn't
already
do it just
being
yet
taken
in case the state decides to put their own funds in place for that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other member of the public have a comment? Okay. Were there any written comments? Tricia?
No.
Okay. May I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, and we'll be voting on that as part of consent agenda. So that brings us on to our regular reports. I'll just ask Mr. Neff if he has any other report to provide tonight.
Yeah, there's actually a lot going on right now.
Yes, there is.
Sticking with grants, there is another consent resolution on for NJDOT Municipal Aid Grant. This one is also released every year. We don't need a formal public hearing, but just for awareness, we did submit the grant application for Essex Road. There's been a lot of complaints from residents about Essex Road. We do have a lot of new development on there between a couple of different warehouses, but more importantly, Soldier On. So we submitted an application, not just for the road improvements, also to fix a little bit of a drainage flooding issue down at the South Bend. And I think more importantly, to finish the sidewalk, kind of along that same southern bend there. We'll finish the sidewalk and do one of those same crossings to the outlet mall. So this is one of those projects where we've been working on literally for many, many years to get sidewalk all the way from the north end of Pine Street and Meadowbrook, and I think it's Atria, some of the other senior communities up there. And bit by bit, as developers came in, even as the solar fields went in at Seabrook, we fought with that developer and got them on board to put in a real big stretch. Soldier On put in their stretch, some of the others. So now we're going to have full sidewalk from the north end of Pine Street all the way down to the outlet mall for everyone who lives along that stretch.
That's awesome.
So that was submitted. So we should hopefully hear back about that in the fall as well. Some of the construction projects in town, Sycamore Park, basketball courts, we're just getting wrapped up for the color coding, so those are complete. The pavilions are complete. The summer rec program started using them this week. The restroom building there, we were just waiting on New Jersey American Water to do the wet tap for the water main connection. That is being done tomorrow. And then the pump station will be turned on Thursday. So the restroom building will be operational, hopefully by the end of Thursday. So that can be used. Some new walkway bollard lights were installed. So that park project is pretty much just about wrapping up. Riverdale Park, I think I mentioned last time, but I know that one's a little quieter park. So just a reminder that that one is complete also. The basketball court's there and the nice new playground. Over at Liberty Park, basketball courts are complete. New playground is complete. The rubber was poured a couple weeks ago, I think, just before the 4th of July weekend that was opened. And the big one is the dog park. It's taken a little longer than we had hoped, but the contractor has been out there. They were putting in the actual amenities, we call them, the jumps, the hoops today. They should be substantially complete tomorrow, so I think we can have like a soft opening for the weekend. And there was just a couple minor items that were on back order. They're short a couple garbage cans and leash posts, but minor things. So once we get those in, we can discuss if we want to do a more formal grand opening, but we can get it open for this weekend to at least let people in there.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think something like that would be nice. People utilize it, they can bring their dogs, just have a nice community
Yep.
event for something like that, so.
The only other thing, just for public's awareness, as everyone's probably seen, a lot of construction going on a lot of detours on the county roads, mostly Tinton, Wayside, and Sycamore areas. So just keep your eye out on the borough website. They've been posted right at the top. Follow the police Facebook page, borough's Facebook page. The police are doing a great job with updating those, so just keep an eye out for those because there will be construction through most of the summer on these roads, unfortunately. And that's it after my long statement.
All right. Mr. Fallon, our CFO?
Yeah, thank you, Council President, and good evening, everyone. I just have a couple items to report on tonight. Under the recently approved state fiscal year 2023 budget, the borough has been allocated an additional $77,000 in state aid. They have titled this aid Municipal Relief Fund Aid. This additional aid is in response to requests from municipalities for the state to restore the energy receipts tax funding formula. The borough adopted a resolution in support of this. The $77,000 is about a quarter of what the borough would like to see restored. So hopefully we will see some more in next year's allocation. Since the borough has already adopted our budget for 2022, this additional aid will be reserved and will be utilized as a revenue in our 2023 municipal budget.
Okay.
So, and yesterday, the borough received the certification from the Monmouth County Board of Taxation of the 2022 general tax rate for Tinton Falls. The general tax rate includes all county taxes, which is their general tax, their library, and their open space tax. It includes the regional elementary school tax, the regional high school tax, and the local municipal taxes, both general and open space. So the 2022 general tax rate certification is $1.60 per $100 in assessed valuation, which is a reduction of 27 cents, or about 15% from the 2021 general tax rate of $1.87 per $100 in assessed valuation. So the tax collector is currently preparing tax bills, and I would expect that they would be sent out early next week. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Mr. Tarafanko, RBA.
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to bring everybody up to date relative to our emergency and community notifications upgrades that we're looking at. We're currently in a final phase of selecting a vendor, and in the coming weeks we should have that vendor selected, and then we're going to announce who the vendor is, as well as give the community residents the opportunity to go ahead and sign up for both community notifications and emergency notifications going forward. And that's all I have.
Thank you. And I do appreciate your diligence. I know you've met with a number of different companies, as had OEM and a number of other department heads on that, because as you know, I'll just piggyback on that. Like, I follow the Tinton Falls Police Department Facebook page, but Facebook has its own algorithms. So just because you follow the page doesn't mean it's going to come across your feed. So you have to proactively know to go to the borough website, which, thank you, I think it's great that it's front and center on the borough website. And you have to know to go to the police department page. So I think, and a number of residents are not on Facebook. So I do think this will be a substantial improvement to have a push notification that goes however the people choose, via phone, via email, or via text, so that they're aware, particularly when there's multiple projects going on like there are now. So I appreciate, your and the administration's diligence in trying to find a vendor and getting that done as quickly as possible. Mayor Perillo, for your update.
Yes, thank you, Council President. Yes, I want to say that in light of the proclamation that we're going to do tonight, but we didn't because the person wouldn't be here, I want to mention the fact that I know the police have a Facebook, and what I was going to say is, if anybody has a Facebook account, that they would announce to the public that we need some volunteer firefighters. If we can have it, have it published or whatever, put a memo on Facebook to ask for volunteers for the fire department. And the only other question I would have is for Tom Neff, and it's that I read in the League of Municipalities that they have a a Department of Transportation and the fund, some kind of fund where you can borrow money for projects at a 0% rate. My question is, you mentioned something about not being able to get the grants for certain projects. Now, does that mean we're not doing the job, or we're waiting? Is that part of the program, or what?
So the DOT, there's a couple different grants. So the NJ DOT Municipal Aid Grant, we're typically pretty successful with. That one we get just about every year, so we're doing Essex Road for that one. The other grant that is more hit or miss, we don't get every year, is the Monmouth County Community Development Block Grant. So that one's a little more difficult. We can certainly look into those funding opportunities. I can speak with our CFO. I think I'm not sure if we need to go out for additional loans, but I can certainly review that.
Well, they call it the Department of Transportation Fund, bank fund, whatever, at 0%.
Okay.
And they have a lot of money there. But what I was going to say is, if we can borrow money at 0%, and for example, you mentioned Waldell Park, and we borrow the money at 0% and then paid off with the funds, open space funds. It's a win-win deal.
Okay, yeah, we can certainly look into that. Might be the Transportation Trust Fund.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Mr. Starkey for your report.
Thank you, Council President. I don't have anything to report tonight.
All right. Ms. Hutchinson?
No report tonight, thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to council reports. We'll start with Mrs. Clay.
Thank you, Council President. On June 18th, I attended the Juneteenth celebration at the Crawford House, and I would just like to recognize the Historic Commission for their work on that project. It was a lovely afternoon. On June 20th, there was a Board of Education meeting, and there was discussion about a demographic survey that the Board of Education was doing to review potential increases or decreases in student enrollment, which is something that schools routinely do. On July 26th, there will be a scheduled curriculum discussion around state standards, which I'm sure most people are aware have been in the news quite a bit. And finally, Community Day, just a reminder, October 8th. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Dobrin for your report.
Okay, so the Tinton Falls Library Association, and the president's here tonight. She'll probably make a couple of comments, I would hope. But the music festival, the fundraising musical festival, will be this August 20th at the Sycamore Soccer Fields. It'll be from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. They're going to have 7 local bands playing. They're going to have fun, games, activities, food, beverages, all available for purchase. There's a beer garden, a lot of activity, and the library group is doing a fine job in putting this together. So you'll be looking for the flyers, and they should be out pretty soon. They're on Facebook, I believe, right now. But tickets can be bought for that particular event at the TintonFallsLibrary.com. Under 5 years of age, it's free. 5 to 12, $5. 12 to adult, $10. And all, of course, the proceeds will benefit the Tinton Falls Library Association. So come on out, look for this flyer. It should be out. I'm hoping it'll be on our website, the Tinton Falls website, very soon as well. And that's about it.
Thank you, Dr. Dobrin. Mr. Manginelli.
No, just congratulating the mayor on he threw a strike at the opening day on Friday. So congratulations, Mayor. That's all I have tonight. Thank you.
We're going to sign you up for the Yankees.
Great. Mr. Nessie?
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, everybody. The last planning board meeting was canceled and postponed till the 27th of this month. The next meeting is here tomorrow night, 7, consisting of a capital review from Monmouth County High School. And I'd like to welcome 4 new residents to our town. They traveled here from Rhode Island. We have Vivian, Ethel, Mildred, and Sebastian Bach. They're the first 4 chickens part of the chicken advisory for the board, and we're very excited, and we're looking forward to having more people contribute towards the program. So that is everything, and that concludes my report.
That's awesome. I was like, there's not 4 people extra in the audience here. Oh, okay. Thank you. Moving on to my report, there's a lot. I'm going to start actually with our trap, neuter, and release. Our TNR coordinator provided me with her report in writing, provided all of us. So I'm just going to share it because this is a great program, and I'd like the public to see where we're at and the progress that's been made. As of June 30th, 2022, the Borough of Tinton Falls had a total of 44 cats enrolled in the TNR Community Cat Program with the Monmouth County SPCA. 11 cats were spayed, neutered, vaccinated, implanted with a microchip, and ear-tipped prior to being returned to their outdoor homes. 29 kittens were kept by the Monmouth County SPCA. They will also be spayed, neutered, vaccinated, and microchipped prior to being placed for adoption. 4 cats were humanely euthanized, 2 had bite wounds of unknown origin, and 2 were suffering gravely, making euthanasia the kindest option. Monmouth County SPCA's TNR program is such an asset to the borough. The program coordinator, the animal control officers, and the shelter staff are all exceptional, and we're continually grateful that Tinton Falls participates in this initiative. I just think it's awesome that 29 kittens were taken off the streets and adopted out, so I wanted to provide that update to the public. Okay, next up. I also attended Juneteenth with Mrs. Clay, and I want to second congratulations to the Historic Commission and all the participants. It was a lovely day, and they have, we're trying to coordinate, perhaps they can come and do a little presentation on some of the information that they shared at a future council meeting, in particular, women of historical note in Tinton Falls. I also want to congratulate the Tinton Falls Police Department for a wonderful sports day camp, at which the mayor threw a strike. I came about 10 minutes late, so I missed that. But that was fantastic. There was more participants, I think over 125 than there were last year. It was an awesome day from 9 till 3, and it got rave reviews, so I want to give kudos to the Tinton Falls Police Department for that. We have the next FEMERA meeting, Fort Monmouth Economic Revitalization Authority meeting, is Wednesday, July 20th at 5 p.m. That's in person now, back at Fort Monmouth, as well as a hybrid meeting with a teleconference. And our next Tinton Falls Environmental Commission meeting is July 28th, Thursday, as well, at the Crawford House, and a hybrid meeting as well. We're working on, the Tinton Falls Environmental Commission is working on an osprey project. You guys may recall we received a grant from ANJAC for that. That's well underway. We're actually coordinating with the Environmental Club at Monmouth Regional High School, which is great to see the youth and the initiatives and how quickly they do social media, flyers, and posts. It's awesome. We're planning, the tentative date is October 1st. It's basically, we're trying to time it to be a week before Community Day, where we're going to have a little, as part of the grant, you're required to have like an opening ceremony that's showing to the borough that the osprey nest is built, and going to have kids' activities, children's books around an osprey, and some games and activities to create environmental awareness. It is a requirement as part of the grant, and we'll invite ANJAC there and the residents there. So I just wanted to kind of do a save the date for that. We purposely planned it to be a week before Community Day because we want to encourage people, and we'll mention it at Community Day as well. And then coordinating that with the rec department, we would have one of these children's books around ospreys be part of the story walk for that particular month as well. So I'm excited about that. And then finally, I just want to recognize there was a ribbon cutting that we were all invited to. I wasn't able to attend, but I went after the fact. The Eastern Monmouth Area Chamber of Commerce, which Tinton Falls is a part, now resides on Apple Street in Tinton Falls. So I just wanted to recognize that. They have some great ideas just as far as how we can connect with our small business community in Tinton Falls and create networking opportunities. It's free and we're already part of it, so I just wanted to kind of call it out there as something future that we can coordinate with the business community and having them now in town. They also will do community event social media posts for us for free. So for example, Community Day, if we were to have a green fair next year, they'll promote that for us as us being part of that organization. And I think I got everything. I think that's it for my report. All right, moving on to ordinances for introduction, of which there are none. Moving on to ordinances for final consideration. At this time, there's one ordinance for final consideration. We'll hold a public hearing with comments being limited to 3 minutes, and comments for this session will only pertain to this ordinance. May I ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance?
2022-1490, an ordinance amending Chapter 17 of the Borough Code entitled Trees to amend the requirements for tree removal and replacement.
Thank you. May I have a motion to open the public discussion on this ordinance?
Motion.
Second?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on this particular ordinance? Please address the podium and state your name and address for the record. Yes.
Hi, Mrs. Carney from the Shade Tree Commission.
Hi, Mrs. Carney.
And the application for permit for a homeowner, it's $5. The single-family lots, any number of trees should be able to be cut down within the footprints that are allowed. The people need the right to have the fenced in yards, pools, garages, something. It improves their quality of life, and we feel that it should be good for the taxpayer. And we don't feel that they should have to replace a tree. Okay?
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have a comment? All right, were there any written comments as pertains to this ordinance?
No, there were none.
Okay. Let's see. May I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any council members that would like to comment on the ordinance? Okay, seeing none, may I have a motion for adoption?
Motion.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second?
Thank you. May I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Clay?
Yes.
Dr. Dobrin?
Yes.
Mr. Manginelli?
Yes.
Mr. Nessie?
Yes.
Ms. Buckley?
Yes. All right, moving on to the open public discussion. May I have a motion to open the public discussion?
Motion.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. This is the time the public may comment on any topic of their choice. Please state your name and address for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Does anyone in the room have any? Yes, ma'am.
Rosemary Kochman, 38 Knollwood Drive. I am the current president of the Tinton Falls Library. Dr. Dobrin did a great job of explaining about the music festival. I would like everybody to know that the tickets are now available online. You can pay on the day of the festival, but we will only take cash. The one thing that Dr. Dobrin did mention is we do have a children's corner where there'll be arts and crafts, a scavenger hunt, and reading of a book at different times during the day. During the evening. We limited our hours this year because last year it was so hot and it was a long day. So we are doing 5 to 9, figuring it would be cooler and people will be home, from the beach or from a picnic.
Mm-hmm.
I have an update on the library grant. We just received it at 6:15 this evening. Brian Perry, our vice president, got an email from Jamie, who is our contact at the NJEFA, and she said the grant agreement is complete and will be sent out sometime in the next few days, and it will be sent to the borough administrator. Once the borough administrator confirms it and executes the agreement and signs off on it, it will be sent back to NJEFA for a final review, and then to the state librarian for execution. So we are one step closer, but there are 4 more other steps.
Okay.
Okay, and at this point, since the agreement has been accepted, the borough would be eligible for reimbursement of funds if they decide to go ahead. But obviously, that's, that has to be planned. But this is great. We've waited 4 months, and with the grant money and the matching funds from the borough and the funds from the library, hopefully, with fingers crossed, by December, we'll have the money and we can move forward.
Okay.
And again, I thank Tom Fallon and Tom Neff and the Borough Council for all their cooperation and their support for the library and our reopening. And now we can at least say, when people say, what's going on, we can say, guess what? We're one step closer.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Ms. Coachman. Does any other member of the public have a comment? Yes.
Hello. Mitch Kohlberg, 21 Cedar Place. Couple of simple ones. First, I just want to thank Mr. Terafenko for his news about the push notification. I couldn't agree with you more, Council President. This is something I've been waiting for a long time. I happen to spend some time in another town, like I've mentioned, and the services are amazing. I get all kinds of police reports and this and that, and so really looking forward to that coming through, and thank you. And then just, I have noticed, Mr. Mayor, you were asking about, said something about zero interest financing and stuff. So I'll just put in a quick reminder that another excellent source of revenue is cannabis businesses, and I strongly encourage this government to start releasing applications to people as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kohlberg. Any other member of the public have a comment? Yeah.
Ellen Goldberg, 90 Glenwood Drive. I just want to strongly encourage all of you to help us promote our Library Music Festival. I feel that it is not only a way for the library to make money, but it's also a great way to involve the community and enlighten them as to what's going on with the library and get them excited about the fact that, we hopefully will be moving as quick as possible to reopening. So we're looking for just more advertising than anything else. We would really like to see a strong showing. So the more that people can get the information out there. So I'm asking each of you who can share this information. We don't have to just have Tinton Falls residents come. Everyone is invited. So, if all of you come and you all bring families and friends and let's spread the word. I mean, that's really the most important thing for us now, is to just get the word out. And so we would really appreciate that. I also want to say thank you, unbelievably thank you, to Rosemary Kochman for her unwearying dedication to this library. She has worked so hard as a volunteer for so many years, as well as many of the other library volunteers. It's incredible and heartwarming to me. I'm one of the younger members, and I don't mean age-wise, I mean participation-wise on the library board. And just seeing these people and their enthusiasm and their commitment to this library is just incredible. And I want to thank each and every one of them for putting in their volunteer time to do that. Thank you.
Ms. Goldberg, before you go, so you mentioned advertisers, meaning you would like people to advertise at your music festival, correct?
Advertise.
So are you looking for sponsors and advertisers?
We're looking for all of the above.
If so, how would someone, if for anyone listening, if they're interested in being an advertiser or sponsor, who should they contact?
So they can go to the tintonfallslibrary.com website. They can reach out. They can email. There's information there in order to reach people at the library. And there's multiple people in the library. Rosemary, can you help me with this?
They go on the website, they can get a sponsorship form, and then they can fill out the form and check if they want to donate or sponsor, and you can email it to me. It's on the email website.
Okay.
So all the information is on the website.
Great.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the other part.
Yeah, I
is,
just
you know,
wanted to get the contact information
the
there.
spreading of the word. You know, you tell someone, and the more that we tell and the more people that we get out there, the better it'll be.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
There's no one left in the public who hasn't spoken, so. I know we have one written comment this evening, so I'll just ask the clerk to read the comment, and if there's more than one as well.
This was addressed to the Mayor Perillo and the Tinton Falls Borough Council. Tinton Falls Borough Council adopted Ordinance 2021-1480 enabling the cultivation, manufacturing, and retail sales of adult-use cannabis. The ordinance was introduced by Councilwoman Clay and seconded by Councilman Manginelli, resulting in 4 yes votes and 1 abstention. The abstention was simply based on a conflict. It was passed with no objection from anyone on the council or objection from the mayor. The ordinance was finalized on 12/7/21, again with 4 yes votes and 1 abstention. Having over 10 years of extensive experience in the cannabis industry, I applaud the Borough of Tinton Falls and the committee consisting of Councilman Manginelli, Councilwoman Clay, Tom Neff, Carrie Costa, Kevin Starkey, Sharon Brown, and Jen Beeman. They did an incredible job. It is clear from the ordinance that they really did their homework and dug into the state laws as well as other New Jersey jurisdictions and used expansive information provided by the CRC. Like many other local jurisdictions, the next step should be the borough putting out the local application and selecting the best applicants to operate in Tinton Falls. There has been no movement in this process. At recent council meetings, it has been stated that the application is complete, but has not yet released under the obstruction of Mayor Perillo. What is the delay? In the November 2020 election, Tinton Falls residents voted yes for adult use cannabis by a landslide of approximately 67%. This significant majority of your constituents see this as a benefit to the borough for many reasons, tax dollars being a significant one. I have listened to many of the council meetings where there are not simple funds available for the girls' softball field or well-needed infrastructure improvements. The 2% cannabis tax would be incredibly beneficial for so many of the things that residents of Tinton Falls want and deserve. Revival New Jersey's cultivation manufacturing proposed project alone would result in estimated tax dollars starting in 2024 of approximately $800,000, not including the tax revenue associated with a 9,200 square foot state-of-the-art building estimated approximately at $250,000 annually for the borough of Tinton Falls. I've attached a bio for myself, Elizabeth Stavola, and my team. If the delay is simply one person's personal view of cannabis, is that fair or just? Is that democracy for the residents of Tinton Falls? I would guess it's not. As a national businesswoman, it astounds me, after leaving many messages for Mayor Perillo, I have yet to receive a return phone call or a reason for the silence. I would like this to be read as a public comment at your next council meeting, and I respectfully look forward to a response from the Borough of Tinton Falls, and I would imagine that residents do too. This was sent in from Beth Stavola. Thank you for reading that into the record. You're welcome. Before I open it up to see if there's any other council comments, I'll just say that obviously everyone knows we're in support. And I know that there's been a lot of work done on the application. I know one of certain council members' concerns was on legal liability. I think at maybe the last meeting there was mention of there were potential lawsuits in other towns. One of the ideas that in conversations and looking at how other towns have done this is to add as part of our application a hold harmless clause. While it doesn't prevent 100% of lawsuits, obviously anyone could sue for whatever reason, by putting that as part of the application, it's acknowledging to the applicant that we realize you have a limited number of licenses and we may potentially not be picked. We understand that. So it's a significant way to reduce liability. I'd also like to mention that there's, and obviously Mr. Starkey, Director of Law, can correct me if I'm mistaken, but my understanding is that there's still potential possibility of liability in not doing anything, because we've passed an ordinance and there are potential applicants in every town that have applied for conditional licenses from the CRC. So they've already put work into this with an application pending for Tinton Falls, knowing that this is the location they chose.
So they've already done work on it. So it doesn't seem like it's the right thing to just not do anything for the moment. So I would ask council and administration to consider finalizing the application and setting up a process. Another thing is, I know the way that Ocean Township did it, I'm not saying this is the best way, but it seems to have worked for them, meaning that, to my knowledge, they haven't received any lawsuits, is they did like an RFP process. Like, I'm going to open up an application period of, say, 30 days, and that would be like the first batch of applicants that would be reviewed, close the application period, very similar to a regular RFP. So that's a way forward that seems to have worked in other towns that I would ask us all to consider. With that, I'm just going to see if any other council members have any other comment, and then
Yeah, I do.
administration.
Yeah, I do. The letter is a great letter. There's one issue that's not quite correct. It's not only one individual holding up receiving applications. I'm involved in that too, because I want to see how the litigation is adjudicated before we make a move. I don't want to belabor you with my other objections with the CRC, but at this point I'm saying let's see what the litigation reveals, and then we'll revisit the issue. So that's all I have to say.
Any other council members have comment?
I have a
Mrs.
comment,
Clay?
Council President. Thank you, Councilman Manginelli. The last meeting, I did make a statement, and I think I was very forthright in all the reasons that I thought we needed to move the ordinance forward. I agree with Council President Buckley in that I believe there are ways that we can manage any legal liability, and I also believe that when we have businesses that are on hold for hundreds and thousands of dollars of investment and they can't get an application, that in itself offers major liability. As council members, we sit up here and listen to things that we could potentially do or could be done, and a lot of them come back to money and questions about finance, whether it's the softball field that was discussed or a library project that's holding for funds. When you talk about the potential for income for the town, and when we talk about as servants to the community, that we value our community members' tax dollars and the services that those provide, I think that we're really at fault not moving forward. That's really a very sad state of affairs. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Does any member of administration have a comment they'd like to make? Okay. All right, thank you. Were there any other written comments?
No, there were none.
All right.
Can I ask a question, President?
Yes, Dr. Dobrin.
Yeah, just, I did see the application. It is pretty comprehensive. Who's going to review those applications?
Do you mean the application package?
Yes.
The draft application package?
Correct.
So that has to be determined. So one of the, and I wanted to mention this to Mr. Manginelli, had asked at one point for kind of a flow chart. There's no designate, like the CRC hasn't told municipalities how they have to do it. One way that I would propose that we handle it is by creating, similar to how we had a cannabis review subcommittee to create an ordinance, that we create a subcommittee comprised of a maximum of 2 council members, other administrative professionals if they need, to where applications would be submitted first to the clerk to review, make sure they don't exceed the current number of licenses, and then pass that along to this subcommittee that we could create by resolution as early as next month. And that subcommittee would be tasked with reviewing the application to make sure everything's complete. If it's not complete, they could reject it for incompletion, very similar to a planning board application process. If they have any questions, they could consult other professionals as needed, and then they would make a recommendation to the full council. Because at the end of the day, As part of the overall CRC application process, before a license would be issued by CRC, they're looking for a letter of support, which is essentially a resolution from the governing body. So at the end of the day, for any business that we would like to support, we would need to provide a letter of resolution back to the CRC for them to complete the application and either issue a license or not issue a license from the CRC.
May I make a comment?
Yes.
Larry, I just want you to know, I don't agree with that approach, but I don't want to belabor the meeting with what I think the right approach is. But I believe that since CRC is the only one that can approve or disapprove, they should be receiving the applications first. That's about all I have to say now.
Okay. They do receive the applications
That's
first.
right. And then after they receive it and approve it, then they would forward it on to the municipality for endorsement.
They won't approve it until they get a letter of support from the municipality.
That's what's wrong with the system.
I mean,
We
that,
can't change the system.
yeah, that's the way it's set up
Well, then you got a
statewide.
problem.
So,
They should receive the application first. They should
They
do
do.
the vetting. There's a provision in there now for something called conditional licensing.
yep,
Everyone should go for conditional licensing. Everyone. Because then they can get their applications into CRC, CRC can review them, and then notify the municipality.
yeah. Still, before anything gets fully approved, they would need a letter of support from the municipality. CRC is not going to check each individual 565 towns' ordinances. That's our job. And that's the one piece the municipality is responsible
And
for,
I've
the rest of
discussed this
CRC
with people,
is.
I've discussed it with the senator, and other business people I've spoken to, thought that was the right approach. I have no problem in moving this cannabis forward. I just don't want to encumber the town or the municipality with a lot of vetting that is being done by an agency that have approved or disapproved the license.
Okay. Any other council comments? All right, hearing no further comments, may I have a motion to close the public discussion?
Motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Miscellaneous business. Does any member of council have anything to add they didn't cover during reports? Okay, seeing none. Before we move on to consent agenda, are there any items any member of council would like to be removed and voted on separately? All right, hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Clay?
Yes.
Dr. Dobrin?
Yes.
Mr. Manginelli?
Yes.
Mr. Nessie?
Yes.
Ms. Buckley?
Yes. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to ask the Director of Law to read the executive session resolution.
Thank you, Council President. We have a resolution to be placed on the floor to enter into executive session. Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act provides that the Borough Council may go into executive session to discuss matters that may be confidential or listed pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12, and whereas it is recommended by the Director of Law that the Borough Council go into executive session to discuss matters set forth hereinafter which are permissible for discussion in executive session. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Borough Council of the Borough of Tinton Falls that the council shall go into executive session to discuss the following items. There's only one on the list for tonight, that is contract negotiations, and it is for a discussion about general contracts.
Great. May I have a motion to approve the resolution?
Motion.
Second.
Thank you. May I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Clay?
Yes.
Dr. Dobrin?
Yes.
Mr. Manginelli?
Yes.
Mr. Nessie?
Yes.
Ms. Buckley?
Yes. At this time, we will adjourn and go into executive session. For members of the public, we will come back, but since there's no matters to be fully decided on, we're just going to close out the meeting after that. So you're welcome to stay, but there won't be any action items after. Thank you.